And welcome to another stream of What the Tech, brought to you by Global Tech. Thanks for joining us today. And over here to my left is a gentleman who always roots for the home team, even if it includes the Red Sox and the Patriots. Dave
Oh
Kelly.
my God. You know what, Rolando? Nice to see you again. I had a feeling me calling you out with your Yankees cap yesterday was going to result in a little teasing. We got our coach back. We're looking forward to this season with the Red Sox for sure. So I'm glad that you and I will have a little bit of a
Oh yeah,
rivalry.
yes. So it's hopefully the season will come soon, and the warm weather along with it. I want to just also say, while we're talking about weather, I want to let the folks know, if you're tuning in from Texas or the South or any of those parts of the country that's been affected by the weather, our thoughts are with you. We certainly have clients and partners and suppliers that are all in that region.
Yeah.
So our heartfelt thoughts are with you during this time.
Yeah, hang
So,
in there, guys.
yes, it'll get better. It'll get warmer soon. Dave, today is a day where we get to bring someone on board that to and introduce to our audience that's actually using one of the products that we talked to our folks during the last episode, which was the PolySync 20. We did everything except destroy the motherboard. I know if we took a hammer to it, it probably would fall apart, but short of taking a hammer to it. So if you didn't see the last episode, catch it. It'll be if you're watching us on YouTube or any other platforms, Facebook. There's links to it. You'll be able to see that. So we actually have somebody today that will tell us what they think about it in their own usage with their people, unfiltered, unfettered. You'll hear it straight from the horse's mouth and hear what that looks like and what his thoughts on it. And I think folks will actually enjoy that, hearing it from besides me or from you. We have our own thoughts and
Exactly.
opinions on the product. So let's not delay this any further, Ori. Let's cue up the trivia question. And Dave, go ahead, take it away.
So, what was the first brand to develop a waterproof wristwatch? Find out later. I think that this was an interesting kind of trivia question, following up from last week's demonstration of of the PolySync as we were hitting it with water. So, thought that would be fun. Let me know your guesses. Throw your guesses on chat if you're watching us on Amazon or YouTube. Throw your guesses out to us.
That's right. So if you're joining us on any of those platforms, send us a chat. You have questions, go ahead, send it through. We'll gladly answer it during the stream. And if for some reason you're not watching while we're live, go ahead and still contact us. We'll go ahead and try to reach back out to you with your questions and comments. So Dave, we did something a few weeks ago that some of our folks really liked and enjoyed. And that's just some shout outs to some of our fans and friends of the show. And hey there. So let's give some shout outs. I want to start by giving some shout outs to Delane in Oregon. Delane, you came on the show. You're a fan, you're a friend of the show. And we love that you post and tweet and share and do all that other stuff. Mike Fleming in Texas, buddy, stay there. This weather's going to be over. The situation will get better.
Stay there.
Yeah, stay. So, well, if you can, fly to Mexico like some people, right? But no, hang in there. That's what I meant to say. Jennifer W. in South Carolina, thank you for joining us and for liking and sharing us, as well as the big group of Danny and his folks down in Florida that watch us on a regular basis. Thank you very much, Danny in Florida. And a big shout out to Marcy in Orlando, Florida. Marcy, I see you, Marcy. Thank you for watching. So with that, let's go on and let's introduce our special guest for today, Curtis Parrish. And hopefully I pronounced that right. Not too many syllables or vowels or consonants in that one. Curtis is with the Max Kuney, I was going to call him group, but Max Kuney Construction. They've done all kinds of projects. They're one of the construction companies that's been around for a long time in the U.S. They've done transportation. They've done hydro projects. Then we were just talking about the light rail project that they're doing up in Seattle. I looked at a dam that they did. Supposedly they were on a joint project with the third largest dam in North America. which is quite interesting. I'd love to hear about that if we have time. But without further ado, let's bring on Curtis from Max Kuney.
Hey
there,
guys.
Curtis.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, where are you joining us from today?
Spokane, Washington.
Hey, great north. I love getting up in that part of the country. It's just so green. I remember the first time I landed in Seattle, and the taxi took me on the way to downtown, and I could not. I thought it was green out here on the East Coast, but out there it is really green. Like there's stuff growing everywhere on the sidewalks and on people's houses. It's just so green. Love it.
Judging
A lot
by
of
your
people don't realize,
backdrop,
but actually the Seattle area is a rainforest.
Really?
It's a temperate rainforest.
Whoa. That's something I didn't know that. See, you learn something new every day.
speaking of rainforests, look behind Rolando.
I've got a rainforest. And so, exactly. So for folks that have watched this before, you probably noticed some color differences in light and all that. So we're trying to spruce it up around here. Dave, if I could touch your walls, I would. You even got some nice color going over there as well. So let us know what you think of the new changes, whether you like it or not. We'd love to hear about it. So Curtis, you're with Max Kuney.
Yep.
Some time ago, you reached out to us and you said, hey, you had a need for some speakerphones, some hand-free devices, and you wanted to deploy it within your organization. Before we get to that, what we want to do is show you a clip to kind of just set the tone for the conversation.
Sure.
And we want to get your thoughts on it on the other side, and then we'll get to talking about the device.
Don't count on seeing everyone back in the office. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, who oversees the world's largest asset manager with nearly $8 trillion, that's just a huge amount in assets, he's just made a bold statement about the future of work from home. He says, quote, I don't believe BlackRock will ever be 100% back in the office, maybe 60 or 70%, and maybe that's a rotation of people, but I don't believe we'll ever have a full cadre of people back in office.
Well, so that's CNBC with the CEO of BlackRock. I just wanted to see from your perspective and the folks that you work with in Max Kuney, what's the vibe and sentiment around work from home and remote working?
That probably won't happen here, and I doubt it'll happen anywhere in the construction industry outside of maybe architecture. Okay. Not only is this a really in-person kind of you have to be there to see what's happening on the ground in order to make the adjustments that need to be made to get the project completed. But it's also an old school industry. They like to talk in person. They would rather get a phone call than a text message. It's just the way the industry works.
Right. Okay. So as far as the construction industry, you just foresee that it's still going to be more of an in-person type of industry for even with
and if you actually go back and look at when let's say the pandemic, that was a really good example. When the pandemic hit, we actually didn't go home. Construction workers nationwide were considered essential, and we needed to be supporting that. So our office staff, each of us have our own dedicated office space, and we came to work every day.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, that's. I think in Virginia, construction sites did temporarily shut down for some time, and it's probably different in each state. But
it was, yeah.
But shortly after, it wasn't that long that construction sites were back up and running, because I would imagine there's some projects that are real critical, especially infrastructure and things like that.
We do heavy highways, so infrastructure is a really tough one to shut down.
Yeah, people, you need that road fix. Who wants to drive over a pothole, right?
Yep.
So let me ask you, Max. I've got my
right?
wires crossed here. I've got Curtis. We got a couple of things that we want to ask you specifically on the types of folks that are working in with you at Max Kuney. Like you were touching a little bit on it. So you've got a lot of folks in the field, and would you say you have less folks that are in the office that are office based that would be part of Max Kuney?
Yeah, so there's a lot less people here in the office, but we do have about 30 engineers. And they're either in the field as a field engineer, or they're in the office as a project engineer or a project manager. Each of those people have a different role, but communication is probably the biggest part of their job.
Interesting. So you know what? That's a nice follow into the question that I'd like to ask. Excuse me. So, Curtis, we talk a lot about devices like the polysync. We talk a lot about devices making experiences. Before you were testing these polysync devices, what did Max Kuney use for voice communications?
So, well, we've been through a lot of iterations. We actually have an old unit here that will still broadcast a two-way radio across the city. But when the pandemic hit, what we ended up having to do was we switched over to Teams. Things just got a lot harder to do in person. Municipalities weren't working. It was just harder. And so we were running off of our cameras on our phones, microphones on our computers. Although reliable, that was a learning curve for us. Most of our people were used to dealing with others in person, or at the very least, just getting a phone call in their office. Right. Those weren't an option for a lot of folks anymore, and we had to change really, really fast.
So what were some of the communication complaints that you've received or that you've experienced yourself when using just the speakerphone on your cell phone or the camera on your cell phone? Like what type of pain points or complaints were you hearing?
Actually, one of the owners of our company just told me yesterday, he goes, I'm sick of hearing people yelling in the office. Because, I mean, really, you've held up your cell phone, right? And everyone in the room is certain that they can't be heard unless they bring it up like 3 levels.
Yeah.
When you get enough people doing that in an office, it gets pretty loud pretty quick.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Pickup distance is really important when we're talking about the polysync. It's been really nice.
Tell us a little bit more about that. So you just said that the big boss said, "Hey, I'm tired of people yelling." What did you guys do once you brought the device, the polysync in? Did you find that you didn't have to scream and yell, or you can have a normal conversation?
So I'm not going to lie. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve there. It's going to be really hard to get people to adjust to that. There's going to be really hard to get people to adjust to that. They're used to a speaker not picking them up, so they talk a little louder. It's taking a little time to get people to understand that they don't have to be quite as loud as they once were. But I'm finding that, I mean, I've got this speaker turned all the way down. It's right next to me. I think the audio seems just fine. But if I set it across the room, 7-8 feet away, it's about the same.
So Curtis, you're actually talking to us on the polysync right now?
I am.
I see. When you sound pretty good for using a speakerphone. That's what I want to say about that. And you said if you let's just do a little test here. I know we didn't even rehearse this, but what if you get up out of your chair and walk back a little bit? We want to see how far back you can pick up your voice.
Sure.
Can you do that? Awesome. Thanks for being good sports. So can you still hear us, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. And do you notice, Dave, he's not really yelling to be picked up?
Yeah, I was just going to say that he's not stressing his voice by any means. Still sounds very natural. And yeah, it's easy enough to hear.
I'm going to step back a little bit further, see if you guys can hear me.
Yeah. And give us a sense of how far you are right now. I know you're off camera, but we could probably still hear you. How far would you say you are from the speakerphone?
So can you guys hear me okay?
Yep. We're hearing you.
So I am about 8.5, 9 feet away.
Wow. That is really good for a small speakerphone. And for those folks that did not see our last stream and don't know what we're talking about, this is what we're talking about, the PolySync 20 speakerphone. So you went about eight some feet, and we were still able, thank you, Ori, we were still able to hear you. So this little device, it's new on the market. So what that was one of the reasons we wanted to reach out to an actual customer that's deployed it and is using it, to understand a little bit about that, because if I use it here, I know more or less what I can expect. But for what you're saying, for a new group of users, and I think a lot of folks that are either remote working or even in the construction industry, this is their first crack at it. So many folks are out there, that's the first time they're being exposed to this type of environment, this kind of work situation. And it's good that you tell us that there is a learning curve, especially if you're used to either just using this, no headset, no hands-free, ever, just yelling into it all day long.
That's funny. That's exactly how they hold it too, right up to their mouth.
How about the new one? The polysync, are they holding those mostly, or do they put those in?
No. It takes a couple minutes for them to realize they don't have to do that
Right.
because it comes across. You pick up the yelling; it's loud on the other side. No one wants to listen to that either. So,
Right.
what I like about it too is I can pull it right out of my bag and I turn it on. It links to my phone, my computer, and whatever call is coming through is the priority on the machine. It's really really easy to manipulate.
Right. So what you're saying is once you get across that initial learning curve, which is just the newness of, what is this? What how do I
Right.
turn it on? What buttons to press? Then it becomes a little bit more natural and easy to use at that point.
What we're going to use it for, and I know you guys haven't. Yeah, I think you have a question down the line, but what we're looking for is a field conference setup. So if I've got 6 guys in an office and one of them walks in out of the field and he's like, "Hey, I'm on a call. You guys need to hear this." I want them to be able to pull that out, set it on the desk. Everybody can sit right where they are and just have a conversation. And it needs
Right.
to be instant. It needs to be very, very fast. Turn it on, it links up, and we go.
Right. And so far in your tests, have you found that to be the case? You just pull it
I
out,
have.
turn it on. Okay, so it's instant.
I did it with this. I did it this morning, as a matter of fact.
Okay, awesome. And you were saying so that they're setting up in the field. I'm curious to find out when you guys are communicating, is it mostly mobile to mobile? Are you using any platform like Teams or Zoom for video? What are you using? Essentially
So
behind the scenes
construction's
there?
an interesting deal. So you have to use whatever the municipality has subscribed to.
Okay.
So we're in pretty much everything. If you name it, we've used it. We've even used the Verizon. They just came out with their own version. It's a little behind everybody else, but so far I have not had a single issue with integration. It just runs right over my computer audio.
Awesome, awesome. That's good to hear because a lot of times, especially when you're introducing new technology, not only is there a learning curve in just figuring out how to use the device, but sometimes the integration between the actual device and maybe the collaboration software, the video software, also gets in the way
We
because
should
of.
actually chat about that. So 2 days ago, I have a very untech savvy individual who runs in my office. He goes, I'm in a meeting and they can't hear me. I can't figure out what's going on. So I went in his office and for whatever reason, the mic on his computer stopped working in the middle of the meeting.
Mm,
I ran into another office where I had one of these test polys set up. I unplugged it from that machine, plugged it into his, and in 10 seconds we were up and running and he was able to get back on the call.
wow,
It auto
terrific.
integrated all by itself. It initialized and we went on with our day.
Awesome. So it self what do you got? Plug and play, truly plug and play, and
Yes,
and
truly
and
plug and play.
and your guys didn't have to worry about, oh, I got to go into the settings and change and reverse and do all that monkeying around.
Correct. And he had never had the poly plugged in before. So it's not like the computer knew to look for it. It just auto initialized.
That's great. That's what you wanted to do. If you're
That's what I needed to do.
Yeah, well, in I was going to say the old days, just a few years ago, you had to go in, whether you're using Windows or a Mac, a lot of times configure that in order. And are you a Mac shop or a Windows shop?
So we're a Windows shop. I was
Okay.
just going to mention that we have not tested this on a Mac platform other than the iPhone,
Okay.
and I doubt that we will.
Okay. Well, if you're usually one or the other, right? There's very
Yeah,
few
correct.
that have outside of the phones themselves, maybe some iPads here and there.
Yep.
But if you're a Windows shop and all your PCs and computers running Windows, you're going to be a Windows shop. So that's good to know. And I think in one of our previous episodes, Dave, we also did some of that testing and found that the polysync was like what you said. You just plug it in and away it goes. You don't have to worry about configuring and settings and all that kind of stuff.
And that's exactly what users are looking for. Curtis, so you answered a question before I had a chance to ask it, but now I want to ask a follow-up. So you talked about how that speaker saved the day for that particular meeting. What would it have meant to your business if you didn't have that speakerphone and that you weren't able to continue with that meeting? What would have been the next steps? How would that have affected business?
Well, so the individual that we're talking about was our operations manager. He typically sits in major negotiations. What they were, frankly, this is a $750 million job with hundreds of people on it. Getting all of those people into one room at one time to fix a problem can typically be a challenge. You don't want to miss those meetings.
Right.
That could have been a big deal for us. That could have set us back, who knows, weeks. Communication, like I said, I can't stress this enough. If your communication systems are failing, we can't do our job.
You know, and it's a minimal investment. You know, it's a $100-$200 device, minimal investment that seems like it already paid off for you.
Absolutely. You know, and if somebody is something to think about too, and you should mention this when you're talking to your customers, because I initially bought the Sync 20, and these last two that I just purchased was the Sync 20 Plus, and that comes with the wireless dongle.
Right.
I have to admit that if you're not tech savvy, or you're purchasing this for people that are not tech savvy, get them the wireless dongle. They understand what that is because they use it on their mouse and their keyboard.
Yep.
They'll plug it right in, and you don't have to do anything for them. It's just going to manage itself. It'll self-initialize with the software, and you'll be fine.
That's nice. Now, listen, so you forgot to buy some dongles at the very beginning.
Yes.
These are available. These are available a la carte. So we'll talk after the show, and we'll talk about getting some of those in your hands.
Excellent. That'd be great. I need 3.
Okay. We can make that happen, right? You're actually continuing a theme that we've had here now for weeks, going back to other devices, is that if you can, just go ahead, get the plus version of the Sync and all the other devices that come that allow you to get that dongle with it, that are bundled in there, because it just pays itself off. There's less worry and hassle, just like Curtis said. And by the way, when you use the Bluetooth dongle and you're connecting wirelessly this way, the audio is much better than if you just use the native Bluetooth connection into the computer.
I actually did not know that.
It turns out that we had an engineer from EPOS, which is Sennheiser, a couple weeks ago, and he basically told us that a lot of the computers, especially the ones that are deployed in corporate environments, they tend to be the low end because they want to really just get the lowest priced laptops, basically, for their people. And what happens is the chipsets that are in a lot of those laptops don't have the resources really to drive that Bluetooth audio in both directions. So it sacrifices that Bluetooth connection. And if that's the case, just get one of these. You'll never have to worry about it.
Something else to consider too is if anybody's on the Polycom 501s, the 601s, they do not have Bluetooth capability, so you can't just walk in a speakerphone or a speaker right off the street and hook it up to those VoIP phones. That was actually the reason we ended up on this track, and I just realized the versatility in these and thought we'd start testing them. I think we're going to be rolling them out to all of our job sites.
Well, I like hearing that. That's awesome. And so let's secure that purchase order after the show.
So I just want to reiterate what Curtis just said. So Curtis took a Poly VVX, was it the 501?
501.
501 that has a USB port on the back, and
Correct.
He's been able to expand the capabilities using this particular device, and I'll tell you that's amazing. Not a lot of desk phones have USB ports on them. Some that do don't always support audio, so I just want to throw that out to anyone that might be watching us. You just want to check on your user guide to see if that USB port does in fact support audio. And it's nice that it does, because now you've been able to maximize your investment on the phone and expand the capabilities for less than $200. So that's awesome.
Pretty much.
That's terrific. That is, I mean, and that it's interesting, that there's so many people remote, but then there's a good chunk of people, or even right now with the situation we have with the COVID, that are using desk phones. And for those that need to use it in a speakerphone fashion, that is going to save the day. Now, the other thing that I'd like to do is for those that did not get to see what we did to this device. And so, Curtis, you're going to appreciate this, because if you're out in the field, your guys are probably, if I'm just thinking construction, there's going to be dust. There's going to be probably incident of coffee being drank, and maybe it's sitting at somebody's table and bloop, it may get splashed on with some liquid of some sort, or in somebody's bag that, you throw it in and out, and you want to know that these devices are not going to go bad in about a week. So for those folks that did not get the chance to see what we did to this PolySync 20, we're going to roll a short clip, just condense it down. How long is that clip, Ori? A minute, 30 seconds? Okay, it's a minute. Okay, so it's a minute of what we did. Go ahead.
The water here, as you can see, I've got a big fat blue pitcher. It's almost like the old school Kool-Aid pitcher back in the day, but I think that was red. Dave, you want to give me a countdown?
All right, ready. We got 3, 2, 1. Pour it. All right, give me a countdown.
I beat you
so
to
look
it.
at that. That is really cool.
We'll connect it back to let the folks see if it actually does work.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Let's show the people. Yeah, look, there's water still on there.
Yep. And is that the audio coming from that speaker?
Yeah, right now, you hear it?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it closer to the microphone.
For the record, there's no crying in baseball and there's no dancing in construction.
Yeah, I don't know how it sounds to you, but it sounds great here.
Yeah, no, it sounds really good. I definitely.
All right, yeah, I thought we'd just have some fun with that again, especially since we're talking to a user or a person who will deploy it with folks that probably this could happen to. Curtis, I'm almost gonna bet on it. This would happen. Some rain, some muds, coffee, and they may get spilt on it.
I can't tell you how many cell phones we go through a year.
That's funny. Not anymore.
Y'all are laughing. It ain't funny.
Sonim push-to-talk phones. They make some ruggedized phones. So I just happen to have that in the brain because you said that, and I remember a guy from Sonim has some really good. So you can even throw them against the wall, and they'll keep ticking. It won't be a beautiful iPhone.
It needs to be able to run Teams and all that good. These guys run their Teams meetings right off of their cell phones. That was one of the reasons these are so important. Sometimes they're going to run right off their tablet. They're in the field. They're in their truck. They're parked on the side of the freeway. Versatility. We really need that.
Well, I really appreciate you dropping some knowledge on us today, Curtis. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? Anything that you think would be relevant here?
Man, I can't really think of anything, but I can tell you that if you're looking for a solution, if they're going to be outside, if it's going to be wet and cold, this is a very simple to operate speaker that you can deploy pretty much instantly. If you know how to use Bluetooth, you can use it anywhere.
Awesome. Terrific. And so before we let you go, there's some questions we want to ask you. These are just questions we ask our guests that come on just to get to know them a little bit better. Our audience gets to understand you a little bit more. These are just rapid fire questions. Whatever comes to your brain, let us know and see what you think. So, Ori, are we ready with those questions? Okay. What's your favorite musician or musical group?
Oh, God. That's impossible to answer. I'm a little older. Aerosmith.
Aerosmith.
I've been on an old school Amazon kick lately, like the old, pre-80s stuff, and everyone in my family is like, "What?
Stuff.
The
Was that
Kings
Toys in the Attic or something like that?
Toys in the Attic, Kings and Queens, and Mr. Salty, Uncle Salty, Uncle Salty. If you haven't listened, if you haven't listened to Uncle Salty, Aerosmith, go stream that now. What an awesome tune.
Okay, terrific. That's good to know. He's an 80s guy.
My wife would make fun of me right now.
That's the song that comes to my mind, that Walk This Way with Run DMC that Aerosmith did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, on your phone, what's your favorite app?
This is going to sound really cheesy, but it's the Microsoft admin. Because I can change people's passcodes on the fly and I don't have to go back to my office.
There you go. Microsoft Teams. You're making it so easy for the admins. Awesome. What's your favorite type of food?
Spicy, and I don't care what culture.
Thai? So you like spicy Thai?
As long as there's no peanut sauce in it, yes.
Oh, there we go. Spicy Thai. All right. And lastly, what is your preferred method of communication. So it's a multiple choice: email, text, phone call, or instant message / DM.
Phone call, without a doubt.
So you're a person that you want to hear that voice rather than
Yes,
leave it to email.
you can fix a problem in 3 minutes as opposed to 3 days with an email.
Good point.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. So, thank you, Curtis. We want to thank you
thanks.
Thank you.
for coming out, spending some time with us and our audience, and enlightening us on the usage of this device. I want to remind you, if you're watching this, that the PolySync 20 is available on Amazon. It's available for delivery. Dave, we've got available. We've got units available. There we go.
Yeah,
I'm
we
looking
are
right at it.
shipping. You can see the products in our carousel. Order today. We will ship today. These are very, very popular.
Yes, I see. We only have 5 left there for this particular model.
And get them while you can.
Right. So those are moving fast, and Curtis's experience may make the move even faster. So if you're watching us today live, go ahead and pick those up while you can. And all of our PolySync 20 come with a bundled charging adapter, so it'll charge the unit. They don't normally come in the box with a charger, but you get a charger when you buy them from Global Tech.
And I would recommend that if you're going to deploy that in the field, that does come in really handy.
Okay.
We've already put it in at least 3 of our trucks.
Nice.
Awesome.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I couldn't have
That's
paid
a-
for that one.
Yeah, and that's a great charger, because it does have the car adapter to it, and
Yep.
then it has the dual USB connection. So, that's nice.
Yeah, for our field personnel, those kind of versatilities, a one-stop shop, it helps a ton.
Awesome. We love it, man. We will have to put him on the payroll.
I'm cheap.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna break the bank. So Dave, send back the lights and the microphone. All right. Well, Curtis, thank you. We really appreciate you joining us today and spending some time with us. And so I want to remind our audience, if you love this content, if you like the type of stuff that we're bringing you right now with Curtis and Max Kuney and his organization, whether it's reviews, splash tests, or otherwise, let us know. Reach out to us. Hit the like, subscribe, hit the bells, the buttons, the notify, all of the things. Hit them now so that you can get wonderful content. You'll know when we're going to come out with the live. And from time to time, Dave, we do something that we don't even promote at all. It's just a special or an in-depth. And if you don't get the follow and like button, you won't know that we come out until much later. So
That's right.
So we really want to thank you all for joining. Dave, is there anything else that you want to say to our folks that are watching today?
So I want to go back to the trivia question. We'll throw a quick answer up for the trivia question. Again, that trivia question was what was the first brand to develop a waterproof wristwatch? There's a couple of big brands out there that I was thinking of. Ori, why don't we show them the answer? Actually, wait. I thought. Oh well. Curtis was going to say this. I have a feeling. So I mean, you would expect it would be a brand like Rolex. We had mentioned Rolex the other week, how they were the first wristwatch on the moon with Poly. But back in 1926, this was their product that was called the Rolex Oyster. Great name for a waterproof watch, very high-end product, and I think since we're talking about the PolySync 20 also being waterproof, we thought that this would be a nice natural question. So Rolex Oyster, that incorporates 2 of my favorite things, a great watch and an oyster. Definitely one of my favorite foods, which no one would ever ask me because I'm not going to be a guest on the show. But
Well, now we know.
Now
We know. So if you want to send some HelloFresh, a customer of ours, you want to send Dave some food, send him some oysters. Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Dave, for bringing that to us today. And we do have an upcoming episode. Ori, do we have a slide for that? So on March 2nd, which is Tuesday, it's our new time slot. We will be doing a very different kind of episode where we're going to feature the Blue Parrot, not just the Blue Parrot, but some of the cool tricks that you could do with your phone, whether using an iOS device, so an Apple, or using an Android device, and some cool voice activated things that you could do without even having to touch your phone ever. All of it is used through the headset. All you do is talk to the headset and it sends the commands to the phone. So we'll talk more about that next week.
Yep.
And if your organization needs guidance through this journey, whether you're using the PolySync 20 or some other technology that relies on communication or a VoIP platform, we'd be honored to help you out. So thanks for joining us today. We'll see you the next time.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Curtis.